Chapter 2. The Fall. The barons did not sleep. They endured. They had originally been built for the middle-upper classes, back when corporations still needed the illusion of social mobility. But over time, wealth accumulated upward into the hands of corporate dynasties and political elites, leaving scraps behind for employees, bureaucrats, and the fading middle class. Eventually, even those scraps disappeared. What remained was something disturbingly close to the feudal societies of Eternalia's Dark Ages, servants bound to corporations through debt, dependency, and survival. Now the barons belonged to the desperate, the homeless, the forgotten, the violent, people with very little left to lose. Or nothing at all. From a distance, they looked like a failed extension of the city, structures that had lost their purpose but not their shape. Towers leaned against each other at unnatural angles, their upper levels stripped for parts, their lower levels swallowed by shadow. Lights flickered in scattered pockets, never enough to illuminate anything fully. Up close, the truth was simpler. The barons were not broken. They were maintained just enough. Air moved, but it carried a metallic weight that clung to the lungs. Water flowed somewhere beneath the surface, but no one trusted it unless they had no choice. Food existed, but only in forms designed to keep people alive, not healthy. Nothing here was accidental. Ethan moved across the rooftops like he belonged to them. He didn't think about where to place his feet. He didn't measure distance or calculate angles. His body did it for him, muscle memory layered over instinct, refined by years of repetition and necessity. A gap opened ahead. He crossed it without slowing, landing, shifting weight, continuing forward. Always forward. From above, the barons almost made sense. Patterns emerged that couldn't be seen from the ground. Safe paths, unstable zones, places where scavengers gathered, and places they avoided. Ethan had mapped most of it in his head, updating it constantly with every run. He paused at the edge of a broken structure and crouched low. Below him, half buried in debris, lay the remains of a transport. Corporate. Or what was left of it. Its outer shell had been torn open in places, exposing compartments that might still hold something valuable. Not much, probably. Anything obvious would already be gone. But sometimes there were hidden caches. Sometimes there was enough. He scanned the area and saw movement. 3 figures near the wreck, which would not be unusual. Then he saw the 4th. A girl, pressed back against the exposed hull, trying to make herself smaller than she was. One of the men grabbed her arm. Ethan stayed still, watching, assessing the situation. There were 3 men. Maybe more nearby. No visible firearms. Blades. Likely. Improvised weapons. It could be manageable for Ethan, although he understood there was a risk, and it was not worth it. He could leave. He should leave, that was the rule. You didn't interfere unless the outcome benefited you directly. Anything else was a risk. Risk got you injured. Injury got you dead. It was simple, reliable, and necessary. The girl struggled while one of them laughed. Ethan exhaled slowly. He knew he should leave, but stepped off the edge towards the gang surrounding the girl. He dropped behind them without a sound. The first man didn't even have time to turn. Ethan's hand closed around his throat, cutting off breath and balance in one motion. The body collapsed before the others fully understood what was happening. The second moved faster. Not fast enough. Ethan shifted into him, redirecting momentum, driving him into the ground with a sharp impact that left him gasping and disoriented. The third drew a blade. That one mattered, and Ethan stepped back, adjusting distance, watching the man's stance, the tension in his shoulders, the way he held the weapon. The thug didn't look trained, but he was dangerous enough. The girl ran.
Good. That part worked.
Ethan thought. Then more movement from the edges and from behind. From places Ethan hadn't accounted for. He turned too late. The strike hit his side, hard and sudden. Metal against ribs, pain flared, sharp enough to blur vision for a fraction of a second. Ethan staggered, forced himself to stay upright, repositioned. 4 more or maybe 5 came from nowhere. He hadn't seen them, which meant they'd seen him first, and that changed everything. Ethan moved anyway. Faster now, although less precise. He dropped one of them, crippled another, kept moving before they could surround him completely. His body responded the way it always did, efficiently, controlled, built for exactly this kind of situation. But numbers mattered, and this time, there were too many. A high-pitched whine cut through the chaos, making that Ethan's head snapped upward. He spotted the drones and understood that those were not corporate, as they were too uneven in their flight, scavenged tech, weaponized baldly. The men backed off immediately, not out of fear, out of experience. Ethan didn't wait, he ran, up, and up. He hit the nearest wall and climbed, fingers finding holds that barely existed, boots scraping against corroded metal. His muscles burned, but they held. They always held. He pulled himself onto the next level, then higher still. The drones followed, closer. The rooftop edge came into view, and there was no time to think, no time to slow, so he jumped. For a moment, there was nothing beneath him, just air, just distance, then the world gave way. The surface he landed on collapsed instantly, rusted structure breaking under his weight like it had been waiting for it. He dropped through. Metal tore past him, then darkness swallowed him. The impact came hard, despite water surged up around him, thick and cold and wrong, his body slammed into something beneath the surface. And something inside him broke. It was not a sharp pain nor a clean injury. A disconnect. Ethan tried to move, but his legs didn't respond. He sucked in a breath, choked on the air, tried again. Nothing. For a moment, he didn't understand. Then he did. His spine has been damaged. The realization settled in slowly. There was not panic, there was no fear. Just certainty. Above him, the opening he'd fallen through was already fading into shadow. No voices followed. No footsteps. No one came. Ethan lay there, half submerged, the cold seeping into him as his body struggled to understand what it had lost. He had been in pretty bad situations, and he had survived. Not this. His breath came unevenly. Each inhale shallow. Each exhale slower than the last. Time stretched, or maybe it collapsed, it was hard to tell. He thought of moving again, but did not. There was no point. So instead, he closed his eyes. He hadn't done this in years. Not since before the Barons, when his parents were alive and taking care of him. Not since before everything that had made belief feel unnecessary. But now, there was nothing left to rely on. He prayed he could die fast to avoid the long agony of dying in a forgotten dirty place, powerless. Out of desperation, he cried, he cursed, he begged death to come forth to take him. Then something shifted. Not around him or in the tunnel, inside him. The darkness behind his eyes deepened, became more solid somehow. Pain moved further away, like it no longer had priority. And then, he was somewhere else. An endless field, perfectly still, no sky, no ground. It was just space that existed without needing to explain itself. Something stood far away, or perhaps close. Distance either didn't behave correctly or didn't matter in that place. Ethan tried to speak. The attempt dissolved before it formed. The presence didn't approach, but it didn't retreat either. It simply was. And when it answered, it did not use words.
You are not finished.
The certainty hit him harder than the fall. He didn't ask with words how or why, but something in him still responded.
Why me?
Because the end is not allowed yet.
The answer came as weight, as inevitability, as something that had already decided before he understood the question. Images followed. There were not visions, more like directions. A turn he had not taken yet, a path he had not seen yet, a door that he did not know it existed. Understanding settled into him without resistance. A way forward. The presence shifted, just slightly, enough for Ethan to feel it. There was neither kindness or cruelty. Just purpose. Then, a command.
Move.
The field vanished. Pain returned immediately and brutally. Ethan gasped, choking as the world snapped back into place. The tunnel, the water, and the cold. His legs still didn't move and his body was still broken. But his mind became clear, focused and certain. He didn't question it, he didn't hesitate. He dragged himself forward. Each movement tore through him. Each inch resisted. But he kept going. He sensed to go left and not right, through a gap he would never have noticed before. Above him, the barrens continued as they always had. Unchanged. Unaware. And far beyond them, something ancient had taken hold of a single fragile thread. And refused to let it break.